If I told you becoming good at math is actually one of the easiest skills to learn, you would probably laugh. Because maybe you've spent years believing you're just not a math person. I believed that too. And yet I somehow ended up studying engineering, a degree where almost every day is math, physics, and problem solving. So either I became a genius overnight, or everything we believe about learning math is wrong. And I'm saying this as an engineering student. Now, before you imagine I was one of those students who always scored full marks in mathematics, I was not. I wasn't the smartest person in class. I wasn't the kid teachers pointed at whenever there was a difficult question. There were exams where I stared at the paper, wondering how everyone else seemed to understand something that looked like a different language to me. But engineering taught me something I wish every student knew years earlier. You're probably not bad at math. You've just been learning it the wrong way. Here's what most schools accidentally teach us. Memorize the formula, memorize the steps, memorize enough examples to pass the exam, then forget everything a week later. But math doesn't work like history. You don't become fluent in a language by memorizing every sentence. You become fluent by understanding how the language works. Math is exactly the same. Every equation is simply expressing an idea. Every formula has a reason. Every chapter builds on another. Which brings me to the biggest reason people struggle. Imagine climbing a staircase. If one of the lower steps is broken, reaching the top becomes almost impossible. Math works exactly like that. If your fractions are weak, algebra becomes difficult. If algebra is weak, functions become confusing. And if functions don't make sense, calculus feels impossible. Most people don't actually hate math. They're trying to build the 10th floor of a house without fixing the foundation. And no one tells them that's the real problem. When I started engineering, I quickly realized something. There was no escaping math anymore. Every week there were equations, problems, assignments, and calculations. At first, it felt overwhelming. But after solving enough questions, something interesting happened. Problems that once looked impossible started looking familiar. Not because I suddenly became smarter, but because my brain finally started recognizing patterns. That's what learning really is. Not magic, not talent, just patterns. Think about riding a bicycle. The first few days feel impossible. You lose balance, you panic, you fall. But after enough practice, you don't even think about it anymore. Math is surprisingly similar. The first problem is slow. The 10th is easier. The 100th almost feels automatic. That's not talent. That's your brain adapting. And here's another mistake many students make. They spend hours watching someone else solve problems. It feels productive, but watching someone swim doesn't teach you how to swim. Eventually, you have to get into the water yourself. Math works the same way. The real learning starts when you are the one making mistakes, getting stuck, trying again, and finally figuring it out. Those frustrating moments are actually where your brain grows the most. So if you really want to become good at math, here's what I would recommend. First, stop trying to memorize everything. Understand why something works. Second, if you're struggling with a topic, don't be afraid to go back. Relearning the basics is not embarrassing. Building on a weak foundation is. Third, solve problems. Lots of them. Not because practice makes perfect, but because practice makes patterns familiar. And finally, stop calling yourself bad at math. The labels we give ourselves become the limits we believe. I'm not saying everyone will become a mathematician. I'm not saying engineering is easy. Believe me, it is not. But I'm saying this. If someone who wasn't naturally gifted at math can survive an engineering degree, then you are capable of learning far more than you think. Your ability is not fixed. It grows every time you refuse to give up on the next problem. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I'm just bad at math, replace it with this. I'm just not good at it yet. Because sometimes that one word, yet, changes everything.